Hello, hello. Hope everybody is doing well. So, I posted a video last week walking through the the study proposal that is due this week, but I also want to talk to you a little bit about the literature unit and the literature essay. If you are not ready to jump into the literature stuff yet, go finish up your study proposal and then come back and watch the video. I don't want to confuse anybody. I don't want to overload you. So as some of you may have noted, I had the annotation assignment and the checkpoint assignment posted this morning. I don't know how I thought that I had posted them last week, so apologies for the oversight. I made those optional as a result of my oversight. So do them if you would like. I'll grade them. If you don't do them, it's not going to count against you. So our last piece here to our semester is the humanities unit. So we talked about the different disciplines early on in the semester, and the sciences deal with how the world works, the social sciences deal with how people act and interact, and then the humanities is kind of making sense of all of that. So for our humanities unit, we are focusing on literature. I do that because many of you will go on to take a 200 level literature course, an American Lit 1 or 2, a British Lit 1 or 2, and working with literature lets you work on the analysis skills that are helpful as you move on to many courses, not just those literature classes. So, we will be reading some short stories and some poems. Hopefully you all have started on those already, but if you haven't, they're there. I kept everything short because it's a short session, and I cut a few readings because I know that everybody is getting tired. We are late in summer session and just have a couple weeks, barely a couple weeks to go. So you'll see a lot of material dealing with literature in your book and that I've provided for you here on the site. The book and some of these materials walk you through elements of literature, and these are things that I know many of you have heard of before. Tone and style and plot and character, and some of that stuff is really obvious, right? If I say, what's a character, you know what a character is. What typically is a little harder for folks is when we talk about themes of literature. The number one thing I want you to remember as you choose a theme to write your literature essay about, a theme should be able to be stated as a complete sentence. For instance, let's say that you are reading Romeo and Juliet, and you say, the theme of Romeo and Juliet is love. Love can't be the theme. Love is an abstract noun, but what you want to focus on is what that piece of literature says about love. So if I said love can be dangerous, that could be a theme of Romeo and Juliet, okay? So when you're thinking about theme, if you just hit an abstract noun and kind of stop, ask yourself, okay, well, what is that piece of literature saying about that theme? And how is the writer doing that? What are the strategies? What are the elements of literature? What are the things that the writer's doing as he or she constructs the story that help deliver that theme? I hope that makes sense. So there is the literature proposal, the topic proposal, where I ask you to let me know what poem or short story you're working with, what theme you're working with, and what elements of literature you're focusing on. I recommend sticking to 1 or 2 elements of literature. Students often do just one. But having the theme, the work of literature listed, and those elements of literature will be important, and I'll give you feedback on that. So I will be trying to get feedback to you as those come in. I know that I know we have that little week off, but I think it's kind of, the deadlines are sneaking up on people, so make sure that you don't sleep on that. Students often ask if they need to use secondary sources for this. Remember, your primary source is that work of literature you're writing about. If you want to use secondary sources, you absolutely can. We do have library activities in the Week 8 folder that walk through some research, but I am not requiring it. I do typically have students spend some time doing literary research, but y'all have done a lot of research, time's winding down. We have that literature essay and a short presentation, and then y'all are done. So I don't want to get in the way. I'm interested in you analyzing this piece of literature and talking about the theme and how it's delivered. Okay, you're smart, you're creative, you are. So why don't you do it on your own? If you want to use outside sources, go for it. Just make sure you treat them and cite them properly. The last thing you'll see referred to are some literary theories, some critical lenses. These are angles you can use to look at a piece of literature to see it in a new light. So maybe looking at it through a historical lens. What does this piece of literature say about the time in which it was written or the time that it was written about? What does this piece of literature, let's say that you decided to look at it, let's see, we said historical perspective, maybe looking at it from a gender perspective. You know, what does it say about things from a man's point of view during that time period or a woman's point of view during that time period? You know, so there are a lot of different critical lenses. You're not required to use them for your paper, but I would be remiss if I didn't introduce them as we walked into our study of literature. So I'm going to stop it there. I'm getting more and more emails these days, and I'm thrilled. I'm happy to respond to everybody. If you have a question, absolutely send the email. If you want to drop into office hours or set up an appointment, I'm glad to do that as well. The last thing I want to mention, please make sure you are using the weekly folders. I'm seeing some confusion from folks, and it seems like in some cases, people are kind of zipping right to the assignment and not looking at the supplemental materials, the examples, and all that stuff. I know it's easy to get in a hurry and kind of scoot right to the assignment and try to get it done, but all of those pieces are in the folder for a reason, and I do have things laid out in a particular order to try to be helpful. So if you are feeling confused, that's a great place to start, is to make sure you've gone through the folder, you've looked at everything, and of course, you're watching videos. So have a wonderful rest of the week. If I can help you, please let me know. I'm happy to meet. I'm happy to answer emails. Y'all take care.